Well, good morning, everyone. This is Joseph Antel from Adjuvant Protocols for Healing, my new book, and I devote the first and third Thursday, 1.5 hours of lecture, and then they are put onto my YouTube channel. And as you know, you just have to go on, you can click on this link, of course, or you can go to youtube.com, Joseph Antel, it will take you right there. So good morning to all those in Mountain and Pacific time zone, and good afternoon to all of you in Central and Eastern time zone. I will be going on the road. My daughter had a baby boy, and I'll be visiting Chicago for a week coming up, and then I'm going on east, and I'll be in New England. So if you're hearing this, and I'll be doing lunch and learns and signing books in the week of July the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. So I'll be in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Long Island. Just so you know, if you want more information on that, you can email me or you can connect with your standard process rep in your area. As you know, we've been looking at protocols for headaches. And as I said in part one, the word adjuvant, which is a word that some have not heard or were not familiar with, it means to help, facilitate, assist, enhance. And that's why we had that in the title of my book. As we looked at in part one, there are many different types of headaches. And there are many views on what causes the various types. And especially in the related to the nutritional field, there are varying views as to what nutrition to apply. So what you're getting with my book and this part one, part two series on headaches, you're getting the gospel according to Joseph. You're getting my view on how to work with different types of headaches. Remember that every day, 1 in 20 adults have a headache. And in the world, 1 in 7 are migraines. And so it is the most common disorder of the nervous system. This, by the way, is Mark Anderson through Saline River Press created this wonderful chart and his view of about 15 different types of headaches. So you can get that through Saline River Press. The treatment and care for lifestyle, I have already reviewed that in part one, but I did put it in part two just as a review. Remember that headaches are the pain from headaches, the swelling, the discomfort are in fact messages in the body for various reasons. And so headaches in some people's awareness are a plague. They're plagued with them daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. But for sure, everyone pretty much within a year's time gets a headache. But remember, they are sending a message. It's saying something is not right in the system. Our concern from a nutritional standpoint is if headaches persist in an individual, you, your family, your clients, over a long period of time, then that is a flag. That is a red flag to let you know that there is a cause that has not been addressed. So all conditions in the human body, now we're looking at headaches over the last month, part 1, part 2, all conditions of imbalance have an endocrine origin. Now, this other teachers may not agree with, but if you look back to the original endocrinologists before all the synthetic hormones came out, they were using glandular substances for these endocrine imbalances. And all headaches have an endocrine origin. And I'm going to show you that today. Even if we're talking like sunlight, well, how does that relate to the endocrine system? Give me 1 minute and I'll show you that. So there really are 7 areas, because there are 7 ductless endocrine glands. Yes, other organs do secrete hormones, but they're not a ductless gland. They are not one of the 7 primary endocrine glands. Remember, the hypothalamus is considered a neuroendocrine gland. So it's not a pure ductless endocrine gland. It is tied in with brain function. Yes, it makes hormone. Yes, it secretes hormone. But remember, it is not one of the 7 primary. So now, if we look at exposure to the sun as a headache, we can also tie that in, at least I did, and I have with clients. I tie that in with people that do not do well in the sun. Now, we're in the time of it, right? Here in Colorado, it's been in the 90s for 2 weeks. And Colorado has 300 days a year of sunshine. So this gets to be a real challenge for people in this area. But this is tied in with pineal. Pineal ties in with the day-night rhythm. And if individuals do say to you, or maybe you, do not do well with sunlight, you get overexposed easily, you get overheated easily, and you also have sensitivity issues to light, sunlight, sound, and other environmental sensitivity issues. Then I have a protocol in my book for that. And Lynn can look that up and put the page number down. So you can use the protocol for that, especially the Neuroplex, which is the #1 product, I'm pretty sure. But when we speak of overexposure to sunlight, which ties all in with this circadian rhythm of day-night exposure, we want to always think about these top 4 products. So I'm not going to go into all of them. As I did in part 1, I'm going to feature 1 or 2 products, usually a standard process product and then an herbal product. But remember, these individuals that have this, they also have other things. As I say, issues with too much noise, too much light, because the specific areas of their inner brain which focuses in the pineal, the size of a grain of rice. Even though that little endocrine gland, it determines what happens in the hypothalamus. It determines what happens in the pituitary and on down through all of the other endocrine glands. Now, I'm not going to teach you about pineal today, but that is on my YouTube channel. And it does relate to eye issues and ear issues. So you can, I explain that in detail in those. Now, the other thing that for these individuals that continues to be a problem is other things in their environment that they're not aware of. I don't know if you read this article this week that they have now discovered. They knew it before, but they never let it out into the public about the toxic forever chemicals widespread in unlabeled makeup. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article. I've given you these to read through. But if you have clients that have chronic headaches and are also sensitive, as I say, to sunlight and to noise, any kind of sound, or to things that they put on their skin, these sensitivities, or maybe they're sensitive to Wi-Fi and other environmental. We need to become more aware of their lifestyle. What are they putting on their bodies? What are they taking into their bodies? And so a new study has found cosmetics distributed in the United States and Canada are rife with a class of chemicals that have been associated with a number of diseases, including cancer, and frequently are not labeled accurately, according to a new study. Now, they tested 231 cosmetic products for fluorine. Now, this is where this ties back into the pineal. What is the most dangerous substance on earth for the pineal gland that calcifies it? Doesn't take much to calcify it. And all the outcome of calcifying the pineal gland, fluoride. So, so other products too, in the cosmetic line. So again, I'm not going to read you. You can read through this yourself, and you will see the problems that have been occurring in these clients, and nothing has been ever said. And these types of chemicals, what are these PFAS, known as forever chemicals, are a large chemical family of over 9,000 highly persistent chemicals that don't occur in nature. Now, we talk about herbs. I'm going to talk about herbs today that have phytochemicals, they say, or we call them phytonutrients because they are not man-made, that are highly significant. You'll be impressed with some of the herbs and what they do for human beings for thousands of years. But these man-made, 9,000 of them, everyone. If I just said it without giving you this article, you probably wouldn't believe me. So these two articles are something that you should definitely review. Now, as far as exposure to sunlight, the unsaturated fatty acids, the good fats in our life, are key because they carry, and fish in particular as a food, and friendly fats, as I call them, have a significance for these highly sensitive people. Why? Because the vitamin F factor helps with not just the thyroid function, but also the distribution, how calcium is diffused into the tissue. Anyone that is highly sensitive and has chronic headaches has a calcium deficiency. But without vitamin F, calcium cannot play a significant role with these individuals. I have had my children, grandchildren that have gotten overheated, had too much, have gotten sunburns, right? Sunburns is what? Too much vitamin D and not enough vitamin F. As a matter of fact, that exposure to sun, if you take enough of any F product, could be black currant seed oil, it could be tuna omega-3, it could be cod liver oil, but the F tablets is the best one that we have used because of its content of linoleic, and arachidonic acid all in one product. And you can see it right here in the label as Dr. Lee wrote it, and its significance for these highly sensitive people to sunlight, to heat. And so it's not that they don't need calcium with it, but you can give a person calcium all you want, but unless it has the mechanism to be diffused, it usually ends up in the bowel, and either they get constipated or they get diarrhea. That's when you know that you don't have enough fatty acids when you take a calcium product. So very important. Now, the other product related to this highly sensitive people, Pineal, and the prevention of any scarring anywhere in the body is Gotu Kola complex. And Gotu Kola complex is has 3 herbs in here. And just remember, I'm going to go through these, zip through these quickly, but you'll be able to listen to this again. Remember that Gotu Kola is the herb for the pineal gland. And I'll show you an article, a very old article that describes this beautifully. It's my favorite article in the world on Gotu Kola. But Gotu Kola itself promotes healing and it prevents adhesions. So it helps to keep collagen or any type of protein, keep it soft and pliable, keep it flexible, elastic, and prevents scarring from happening or in the first place, and then prevents scars from becoming so rigid and hard that there is no longer any blood flow. So I could talk about Gotu Kola for the whole hour. So this is very important, and its main importance is its relationship to the pineal gland. What about grapeseed? Again, when Kerry Bone and Lee Carroll formulated these different herbal tableted products, they showed their true understanding of what herbs do and put them together for you. You don't even realize when you're taking a Gotu Kola the significance, the broad significance, but they did it for you. You don't even have to think about that. What is grapeseed? relates to capillary fragility, diabetic retinopathies, especially any micro vasculature in your body, from your eyes to the tip of your toes. Grapeseed is the strengthener of connective tissue. So, grapeseed strengthens connective tissue. Gotu Kola prevents the connective tissue from scarring and keeps it soft and pliable, even if there are scars, adhesions within the body. What about ginkgo? The only thing you need to remember about ginkgo is it helps. It's WD-40 for the red blood cells. It helps the red blood cells. It lubricates them so that they can move through the vascular chambers throughout the body, the vasculature of the body more easily. And therefore, it's antiplatelet. It prevents any type of coagulation of red blood cells. It prevents stroke. It helps circulation, particularly up in the head area, by the way. It's one herb that does break the blood-brain barrier, and which is highly significant. So this is the article on Gotu Kola, which I'm not going to talk about, but remember that Gotu Kola has been honored for brain function, for people that get a lot of mental confusion, mental issues tied in with, in my opinion, pineal function. And it is, they say, one of the key herbs in longevity. Gotu Kola was known to writers of India hundreds of years ago, always as a longevity plant. And it is the herb of memory. So, do you know, you've heard me tell this story, but I've never recorded this. That's why some of this is a repeat for you. Do you know why the saying goes, elephants never forget? Elephants are really one of the smartest, if not the smartest animals in the world. An elephant never forgets their memories. You can read story after story on how they function and live together as a society because they graze on Gotu Kola. They live on Gotu Kola like a cow lives on grass. So mental troubles, blood pressure, abscesses, rheumatism, and the efficacy of Gotu Kola has been highly valued. So you can read this through, as I say, and enjoy it. It is truly my favorite article. So let's move on now to pituitary. We've looked at that very essential area of the pineal and disorders coming out of that, headaches. Pituitary headaches are very common. And the original, see if I have it here. Maybe I didn't put it in here. Oh, maybe it's right here. The original endocrinologist said the disproportion between the pituitary body and the sella produces pressure of the sensory nerves to the dura. So where does the dura go? I learned this attending AK seminars that I attended for years, monthly, from George Goodhart to other great kinesiologists. And my beloved friend Herb Anderson in the New England area, and spent many weekends with him and his wife and in his trainings. He talked about the dura that goes from the base of the skull all the way down to right above the rectum. Very significant area. So when we talk about, geez, Joe, you talking this pressure from the pituitary affects everything it does. And by its encroachment of the cavernous sinuses, it may cause interference with cerebral circulation. The whole setting up, the train of pituitary symptoms include headache. This headache is situated deep in the forehead behind the eyes. Deep pressure on the temples may elicit some tenderness. And so pituitary headaches were known way back in the 1930s. And so the product that Dr. Lee used for this, and the kinesiologist, some say my middle name should have been pituitrophin, because I use it for so many things in my application in teaching other practitioners and my clients. Very essential. And you can read through Dr. Lee's observation that he put in this products bulletin, which is a book you must have. Buy this book before you buy mine. Then buy mine, and then you will understand this book better, how I've applied this through my book, what Dr. Lee taught. Because the pituitary really connects with all the endocrine glands. The pineal connects with the pituitary and hypothalamus, but then the hypothalamus and pituitary connect with all the other endocrine glands. Highly significant. And you could ask me, well, Joe, how do I know if someone needs a little pituitrophin in simplex F or straight pituitrophin? They have an intolerance to stress. They are unstable. They have an inability to work under pressure. Now, some of this might relate to thyroid or adrenals or some of the other endocrine glands, yes. But if you go to those other glands without addressing pituitary first, you're not going to get the outcome that you want. Because the pituitary relates to what? All of the endocrine system, all of the digestive system, all of the musculoskeletal system. It is the gland that plays the most significant part as far as the working of the rest of the body. It is truly the one teacher of mine said it's the womb. It protects everything. It helps regulate, plays a part with everything. So just like the womb does in the coming of a child, the development of a human being within a woman's body. And of course, healing, to any healing that is not responding to your care. If a person is not healing, here he says it, delayed healing, response, inflammatory, ulcers, festering lesions, skin, inside and out, which fail or are slow to heal. That's all you need to know. How do they handle stress? Oh, not well. You have so many people that come in and do not handle stress well. So here it is. So you can read through this. Now, what is the other in this pituitary headache protocol that I want to bring out today is chase tree. Once you get to know chase tree, you're going to use a lot of this, from acne in young people and old people to any cycling woman. Any woman that is going to try to conceive and hold a baby through the whole cycle, through the whole 40-week, 9-month cycle. Why? Because of the chase tree ovarian link. And this also ties in with pituitary ovarian connection for hot flashes after a woman stops cycling. So chaste tree is a hypothalamic pituitary ovarian regulator. Now, again, I just picked one sentence out of this article. You will love this article. You're going to learn more by reading this than any 2 or 3 hours I could give you. And it's tied in, of course, with PCOS, hyperprolactinemia, and its ability to regulate progesterone. All of your clients that have high estrogen, and listen to this, high testosterone, men can take this. Young men with severe acne, you can put them on chaste tree and it will bring down that the terrible experience that they're going through socially, metabolically. So you can read about this. I'm not going to tie this in. Most studies on chaste tree berry for infertility or PCOS have been used, making it difficult to determine the role of the solitary component. The tendency for these studies is to bring down the significance of especially herbs. But I'll tell you, when you start using this, you will see that you are going to clear more female issues, not women not having their periods, not they're having too heavy of a flow, of PMS, of on and on. So you can read this through for sure. And as I say, most of what Dr. Harrower and the endocrinologists in the beginning of the 19th century found were these glandular substances that they were using were highly significant. And there was one thing I wanted to read with this therapy. So this woman was given therapy that could not lose weight for the first 3 months of her treatment. This had a beneficial influence upon one feature of the difficulty. She lost nearly 20 pounds in weight. The headaches occurred less frequently and were not so extremely painful, but the dysmenorrhea was not affected because they needed the chaste tree with it. Evidently, the medication caused some symptoms of thyroidism. So there you get, when they were giving this pituitary glandular extract, but they weren't aware of protomorphogens of self-regulation at that point. So anyway, you can read these through about the pituitary headaches as well. Now, why did I put structural misalignment, muscle strain, ligament laxativity, subluxation right next to pituitary? Because it relates to the pituitary. As I say, pituitary ties in with digestion, hormone balance, musculoskeletal, and healing overall in the body. But why? Because the main substance for ligament laxity, for joint issues, is the mineral manganese. But without the support, and you know how I teach this, how I think about it, how Dr. Lee and others thought about it, how you think it through. What is the vitamin, the mineral, and the like protein? So we know for structural problems, these are the people that are going to the chiropractor, which is great. I go twice a month, every 2 weeks. Since I was 13 years old, I've never not been adjusted twice a month that I can remember. But the importance of the mineral manganese can only play its significant part if it is tied in with enough of whole food vitamin E, not high potency vitamin E, and pituitary. So here you have this. And so anyone that has chronic headaches must include, this does not take away from acupuncturists, massage therapists, because remember, muscles and nerves affect the movement of the spinal structure, the hips. So you need the other modalities, whatever helps your clients, helps you and your family, whichever one, find the modality that works for you best. Or you could do a combination. I get a massage twice a month now, and I get adjusted twice a month now. Now that I'm semi-retired, semi-refired, I can do that. But the importance of that pituitary piece with this. But what else do we need to look at out of the protocol related to these chronic headaches? Believe me, I have had family members and clients over the years that weren't into chiropractic, they weren't into massage, and they chronically got headaches. If they got out of line, they after a heavy workout or a strain of overworking in the yard or at work or sitting in front of a desk, if they weren't doing that. So the products that I used with them the most is the Ligaplex 1, of course, but as I put in my protocol, Ligaplex 2. Now, why did I do that? Well, I'm going to show you why. Ligaplex 1 is for acute. So what does it have? Oh, I said manganese and vitamin E. Now, Dr. Lee did not put pituitrophin in there. And I was one of the, if I had a top 10 questions, if I could ever talk with Dr. Lee, that would be one of them. But anyway, that's an unknown. Ostrophin he put in because of the enzyme phosphatase, which is the main enzyme that helps calcium absorption and distribution in the bones and joints. That's why he put it in there. And of course, ACP as healing for the connective tissue itself, which is a great product. I go back and forth between a bottle of Cataplex ACP and a bottle of Cyruta Plus. Most days I take them both if I can manage that. So the difference between Ligaplex 1 and Ligaplex 2 is this is more global. What does this have in it? Oh, this ties in with muscles, cardiotrophin. Then you've got your ostrophin and manganese, and then your fatty acids, your vitamin E, and your cyro yeast is cyro food and lactic acid yeast. So this is more global, tied in with your the balance as far as emphasizes more of your musculature from your gut all the way through to your heart. And you can see that this is a much broader product, but because I use it in this protocol because it is more significant to the global structure and how that relates. Now, you could say, well, Joe, you don't need lactic acid yeast in the cyro yeast. You do, because if your gut is inflamed, if there's an imbalance there, that's going to promote inflammation throughout the body. And that could lead, whenever you think of anything in the head, You have a structural headache, think of the gut. Remember, the gut is the second brain. And that's why this product is the most important one from that standpoint. So, and what about Boswellia? Now, Boswellia is an herb that has been used for thousands of years, back from the time of Jesus, back to when it says the three wise men for Mary as she was recovering from birthing Jesus, and many women at that time, that's just one story of many, of using gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I believe that gold related to turmeric, by the way. That's my own hypothesis of that, and myrrh as well for infection. So the wise men were herbalists. They were wise in many ways. And so, but Boswellia, frankincense, is an anti-inflammatory. It's an analgesic. It's an anti-arthritic. And listen to this that I forgot about. It's an anti-tumor herb. It reduces the inflammation and growth of tumors throughout the body. What else is in here? Celery seed. That's, again, an anti-inflammatory. You know, when Kerry Bone and Lee Carroll formulated these, they put these together. And it's a diuretic, and it's, again, an anti-rheumatic. Any type of joint inflammation, diuretic. Ginger, of course, we know is mainly for peripheral circulation, opening up those small capillaries. Great blood vessel dilator is ginger. It's also very good, as we know, for digestion. Asian cultures have eaten it for thousands and thousands of years, and reduces the inflammation in the digestive tract. And it is also, which many of you probably don't know, ginger is an antiplatelet. It prevents blood clots from forming. And then, of course, the beloved turmeric, which is now probably the #1 substance on earth to prevent Alzheimer's and dementia, because of again, its antiplatelet factors and its it reduces lipid levels, which is another hallmark of this herb that nobody knows about or doesn't think about. Turmeric can reduce lipids in the blood, i.e. cholesterol. So this particular formula, again, we say, oh, I take Boswellia if I have a pain or inflammation. But look what else I just taught you, made you aware of in these herbal preparations. And of course, I gave you this link because I just don't want you to take my word for it. And you, oops, where's my, okay. Oh, here it is. It's up here. So I just wanted to, let's see, here it is. Another study compared to riboflavin and other treatments found, oh, I'm sorry. Let me just find this right here. It is. Boswellia is a type of tree which is used in India, frankincense. The resin from this tree has anti-inflammatory benefits, which have been used for centuries to help with pain conditions such as headaches, cluster headaches, asthma, menstrual cramps, arthritis. You can read the rest. Great article on headaches, preventing migraines and other headaches. But here is this wonderful product that is so significant. So now we're looking at the next of the 7 areas. And as I say, I tie all conditions in with the 7 endocrine glands. You cannot give me a condition, a challenge in human health that I cannot tie into endocrine function, the 7 endocrine glands, as I'm doing today. Now, I know you're not looking to challenge me, but we could have a great discussion about anything in that regard. And you will see as we go on in the years to come how I do tie all of this in. So, thyroid headaches, and the 2 products I picked for this out of all of this is Coleus and Thytrophin. Now, remember that thyroid headaches, and I will show you right here, is, oh, that relates to that. Oh, I'm going to go back to that. Sorry. I want to get out of order here. Thyroid headaches are the headaches that, I'll read it further down the line here. Thyroid headaches are the ones that people wake up with in the morning. And that is the classic characteristic of that type of a headache. Now, people could say, well, I'm a little hungover this morning. They didn't even drink any alcohol. I feel hungover. I feel tired in the morning. And that, and it's accompanied with a headache. Those more than likely are thyroid headaches. So again, Dr. Lee addresses this, that it could be either hyper or hypothyroidism. We didn't put the hypothyroidism in here. Oh, that's why Lynn had 2 in there for this one. That's okay. But we can add that in, put that in your notes. So you will see using Thytrophin for these headaches. Now, I have always said I don't see the results with Thytrophin unless I have them on 6 a day. But remember, whenever you introduce a protomorphogen, you want to make sure that you work your way into it, especially someone that's had headaches morning headaches or hangover type headaches in the morning, not having had alcohol or a lot of sweets the night before. That's a different type of headache. Now, those are blood sugar headaches, or adrenal headaches. But so you want to introduce slowly, and that's very simple. On the other page that we're going to add in, Dr. Lee, says to start them easily, 1 to 3 a day, he says. So what I teach is you take 1 Thytrophin in the morning on an empty stomach, 1 in the evening for 3 or 4 days to even a week. Then go to 2 and 2, and then work yourself up to 3 and 3. You don't need to go beyond 6 a day. But so many individuals, women especially, as they age, it becomes an autoimmune issue, whether they have Hashimoto's or not, that the immune system now has turned, that the process of breakdown in their thyroid is so critical that now the immune system is attacking the actual thyroid itself. And that's where a lot of these syndromes come from. Now, yes, you need the vitamin F to regulate iodine, and you need enough iodine with the thiotrophine. Remember, the vitamin, the mineral, and the like protein. Coleus is an herb that probably most of you are not familiar with, but Coleus has a lot to do tied in directly with hypothyroidism. It's a great herb for that, and you don't need much. The MediHerb recommend even, I think it's 1 to 2 a day is all you need of this. I don't see it on here. That I guess I didn't. Oh, here it is. Does it say here? Anyway, doesn't matter. I already know the dose. It's 1 to 2 per day. So what else does Coleus tie in? Most have said that when they get on Coleus of 1 twice a day, I guess you could go a little higher to two twice a day for a while, but then go back down to one twice a day. And you would do that for just 2 weeks. Most people lose 5 pounds. In fact, it's almost 100% that people that get on this will lose at least 5 pounds. Now, obviously, if you have a hyperthyroid, you would not want to get on this herb, obviously, and you want to read about that in here, in the information that they give you of side effects for this herb. But the other thing is you can use this for as an antiplatelet, again, preventing blood clots. You can use it for high blood pressure. I've had elderly people I have used this for over the years, high blood pressure and glaucoma. This is a very significant herb for glaucoma. It is the herb for glaucoma. Now, we use AC carbamide and oculotrophin in the standard process line, but if you want an herb for glaucoma, you want to use the Coleus forte herb. And also skin conditions. Now, why these herbs have cover such a broad significance in human health is a great question and an unanswerable one as far as I'm concerned. But know that the studies they've done for hundreds of years on this particular herb, that people with chronic skin conditions. Now, my hypothesis would be when you have chronic skin conditions, you have poor circulation through your blood and lymphatic system. And so it's not being drained out properly. And because there's a lot of blood stagnation. So if you get an herb like this that stimulates thyroid function, stimulates metabolism, it's going to pick up the clearing of the fungal overgrowth or other poisons, whatever's coming through the skin. It picks up that metabolic rate so that the body can function normally. Very simple, really. So, and here is the link to Coleus and the thyroid function that I had popped up earlier. So Coleus is the main active ingredient. It's a member of the mint family and grows in India, Burma, Thailand. So it increases cellular cyclic AMP, results in inhibition of platelet. Again, a lot of these herbs that we're talking about related to these headaches really help the blood flow and the thinning of blood, not as a drug, but as a natural. Decreases likelihood of blood clots, reduced release of histamine, decreased allergy, increased force of contraction of the heart, relaxation of the arteries and other smooth muscles, and increased thyroid function, increased fat metabolism. So you can look at what this particular herb does. helps with depression. And so I was fascinated. I read most of this article, and Coleus and cancer metastases. So you're going to really enjoy this one. All of them that I found for you, I thoroughly enjoyed as I glanced through them. So what is the next important herb that ties in with uh, with a psychosomatic, with people that just hold so much stress, that worry so much, and they constantly are having tension headaches. They're always rubbing the back of their neck, or they want their shoulders are full of knots. Well, these are the people that just systemically do not have enough of the relaxing vitamins and minerals for their body. So the product that I put in my protocol that you know that I love so much is Chex. Now, of course, Chex, as you can see, John Courtney, who taught me, and Mark Anderson and others, is a combination of Mintran and Orchex. So, and Mintran is half calcium lactate and half organically bound minerals. So you can read through this wonderful product that has this tremendous tranquilizing effect. And of course, one of the great significance, which you can get as a standalone product, is Orchex. That's it's about it's almost a third of the Minchex itself, and 2/3 is Mintran. Now, if you're going to use Minchex for this tension, stress, headaches, then you're really going to have to up the dose. Now, usually I recommend 3 twice a day, but in this case, what did I say? 3 times a day. Because those minerals, when a person is highly deficient in them, they're going to use them up within 2 hours. So this way you're giving every 3 to 4 hours, you're giving 3, which really keeps them, keeps their system relaxed. And the main thing to realize about the Orchex part, which you've heard me teach before, Orchex has a factor called hyaluronidase. And where did I put that? It's right here. So it is known, it's an enzyme that really, this product is an enzyme product from the orchic extract. And this enzyme spreads neurotransmitters. So when you get in the nerve synapses anywhere, other parts of synovial fluid, any other fluid in the body, even in the eyes, I've used Orchex for people with glaucoma, anywhere where there's congestion. But we're talking about nerve nerve interference and nerve congestion. When you get the 2 poles of the nerve synapses, how many do you have? 1,000 trillion nerve synapses, 100 trillion in the brain alone. And when these neurotransmitters, these chemicals, get too congested in between the 2 poles of the nerve synapses, then what happens is those poles overfire, creating neurological tension, neurological disorders of all kinds. So now they have drugs to manipulate these, but this is the way to do it naturally. And again, as I've said, anything with the brain where are neurotransmitters mainly produced. The brain produces some in the gut. This is where looking at a person's lifestyle, what are they eating? The GAPS diet is really the best for these types of individuals that are really struggling. They struggle daily with tension. So this product, the Chex that is in the Chex. Now, as I say, you can use straight Chex. And that enzyme hyaluronidase, that spreading factor, is going to thin these out. Why do people, when they're on opiates, why do they have to keep taking them? Why is the opiate addiction so prolific in this country, in the world? It's because what the opiate does is it shuts off these poles of the nerve synapse. So what does nature do? What does life do? It says, oh, you guys aren't communicating. Let me give you some more chemicals. Let me give you these more neurotransmitters. So it fills them up while the drug is working. When that drug wears off, then you're loaded and there's way overstimulation of the nerve synapses throughout the body. That's why these people, when they shake, they sweat, they can climb up a wall coming off of opiates, and tremendous pain. So that's what's going on there. And so you can read this through about these neurotransmitters, what they do, and with my notes here, all related to Chex. Believe me, everyone, and Chex. Now, the reason that I use it for these types of headaches is because one of the things is that Chex contains other products, other minerals, relaxing minerals like potassium. Potassium is necessary for acetylcholine reaction. So acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter for the brain that helps you go to sleep at night, help you wake up in the morning, as an example. And so, and calcium lactate, which again, I'm not going to go through all of this. You know the relaxing effect of calcium lactate and what it does for what? Muscle cramps. We're talking about headaches, fever, infections, on and on. But this is all in the product Chex. So the next area of infection ties in with the thymus gland. And in infections, headaches from infections is so common, right? When you have a cold or a flu or a virus or a bacterial infection, if you even get a sinus infection, you know that your immune system now has not, an outcome of that, obviously, is the infectious process becoming overwhelming for your system until it catches up. So I picked two products out of this protocol. It does not make any of these other products insignificant. But the one for chronic infections, of course, is Thymex. Thymex ties in with the function of the thymus gland. Now, notice I didn't say self-regulation. If you want self-regulation of the thymus gland, you would use thymus PMG. But Thymex itself is the product for stimulating immune function, and particularly for lymphatic drainage. So when you get a headache tied in with an infection, you probably can even feel the lymph nodes closing up your throat or swelling your throat, or you can feel lymph nodes affecting your ears or your sinuses, all of that. So Thymex is going to be more functional. It's going to be more stimulating because it's not a protomorphogen. It's an extract of the thymus gland. It's not desiccated thymus. And so Dr. Lee, of course, made the protomorphogens and the cytosol extracts. Anything with EX is a cytosol. It's not desiccate. It's a different part of how he made, it took these organs and made them more effective and significant in their function. And so Thymex, believe me, when I had cancer, and I had a lot of headaches during my cancer, especially the 2 years that I was fighting it daily, hourly, every minute. I took 8 Thymex 3 times a day for 2 years. That's how well it works. And it got rid of the cancer, along with other things, of course. But the main product for this is to help with the stimulation and lymphatic drainage. So, and you can read what Dr. Lee says about this. By the way, remember that if people, like he says here, have allergic reactions, say to milk, to dairy, other foods, you can use Thymex related to this. So read this through and you can begin to apply Thymex differently than you thought before. Adding it to your armamentarium. So what is andrographis complex? Now, this is a product that every one of you should make a note. And you should have at least 1 bottle of this product in your home, if you travel, in your car at all times. If you start to come down with anything from an immune standpoint, you want to start taking, of course, we know things like calcium and C, F, Thymex, as I'm emphasizing today. But andrographis complex is the closest thing to an antibiotic treatment that I know of on Earth. Now, what is in here? Well, it has echinacea, as we know, that fights any viral, bacterial, and parasite infestation. Don't forget that. You can use echinacea for parasites, for swollen glands, lymph nodes, and swelling in the spleen. A lot of people, when they have chronic infections and headaches accompanying them, you can use echinacea because to some degree their spleen is inflamed. So very important. What is holy basil used for? It's been used for S1N1 viral infections, swine flu, colds, fever, viruses, long before the viruses were named. And then, of course, the main product in this formula is andrographis complex, andrographis itself. which is really parallel to the echinacea. It does the same thing. And just remember, when you have an infection like this, your body is full of heat. So andrographis is an herb that cools the system. That's how it works. By the way, andrographis is very good for hepatitis, any liver infection, heat in the body. And of course, holy basil as well for colds and fever. So again, this formula is something that you should always have close by in your medicine cabinet. So I'm not going to read you this because I've got quite a bit to get through here. Now, if we get into your gallbladder type headaches, well, what would this be? Well, this is the headache that after people eat a lot of fats and oils that are not complementary, saturated fats or trans fats, or any oil, or even if they have a reaction to butter, and they immediately get that pressure in the back of their head, almost like a hangover headache. And they start burping and belching. But accompanied with a headache, you know that this is the gallbladder headache. This is the headache that that takes hours to go away. Most people need to go to bed with this type of headache. And they're very uncomfortable, not just in their head, as I say, the back of their neck, but they're uncomfortable in their in their mid torso area, right around the gallbladder area. Now, why is beta food the main product for this? It's because it thins that bile out, and it thins the bile route to the liver, and it converts the fat into a glucose, and regulates the release of glucose into the bloodstream from the liver. Did you know that beta food also has methyl donors? Now, these people that claim they have this gene that they don't make enough methylate, they need beta food. They will be able to absorb B vitamins, if not completely, but better from their food instead of taking a bunch of synthetic B vitamins, which I'm not going to get into now, because they have these methyl donors. Now, the other thing that beta food relates to, which you're probably all aware of now, is any type of athletic performance. If you're going out to mow the yard, if you're going to go on vacation with your family, and you're going to be doing a lot of hiking and activities, you should make sure that you bring a bottle of beta food with you so that you can last for your endurance. And so that betaine results from the quicker fat burning, and helps with muscle tone itself. And you can read through these articles, which I've shared with you before, but the one that Lynn gave me that I really want to emphasize with this is beet juice is the big endurance boosting sensation of the past few years. One of the things that happens with athletes, which we haven't considered yet, I have a whole chapter on athletic performance in my book, with the assistance of some of Mark Anderson's protocols and my adding in the herbal significant protocol parts of the protocol, which I'll share with you at some point. But one of the things that athletes get after they perform is headaches. And so if you give them the beet leaf top and the beet root, in the evening before and the morning before their marathon or triathlon, or even if you're going for a long run or your joggers, they won't get that headache. Beet juice is the big endurance boosting sensation of the past few years. But how much exactly do you need? So he goes into this, but the amount of oxygen required to maintain given level of moderate exercise decreased after taking beet juice. In other words, it took less energy to cycle the same pace. So you can read about this. It's a great beta food. Again, when you take these products from standard process, the global significance is far broader than you're realizing. And of course, Lipton is the parallel product to beta food. It helps with, of course, the uh, the thinning of the bile. It helps with a gallbladder function itself and restoring liver function. So you can see in this supplement, it has the globe artichoke, which I just described, the main attributes of that. We know the protection of milk thistle for the liver and for the regulation of glucose from the liver into the bloodstream. If you look at my type 1, type 2 diabetes protocol, you'll see that milk thistle is number 2. So highly significant, and it's a hepatoprotector along with rosemary. That's not in this particular, but you'll see that. And the other one that I wanted to bring out in here is dandelion root. Dandelion root helps liver stagnation, constipation, and gallstones. It helps to soften and break down stones. So this formulation itself is very significant for that gallbladder type headache. And of course, here's some other from Lee Carroll, who wrote most of these in this particular Medicare clinical reference guide that I gave you. And a couple more here. Adrenal headaches. Now, how many headaches that we have talked about don't tie in with adrenal function? They all tie in. And so what is the main product we want to look at for adrenal function? And again, back with the early endocrinologists, they say there is no well-defined or an identified type of adrenal headache similar to some of the other types of endocrine headaches that are to be discussed here. But hypoadrenia is often accompanied by a dull, indefinable ache, comparable, shall we say, to the sensation one may feel when hungry or all gone. This is the headache, and I see this with my grandchildren. They get a headache after they've been out playing soccer or riding the horses or out with their friends, having a sleepover. That headache, and the next day, they're limp. They cannot live a normal next day after these very highly functional days of exercise or lack of sleep. That's the adrenal type of headache. So now, as you know, my favorite product for adrenals is Drenamine. And Dr. McGarrison, who was highly decorated by the Queen of England for his work on endocrine function, went into a discussion on vitamin deficiency. he pointed out that the first thing that happened to people who ate white flour is that they developed weak adrenals. And without adrenaline, their capillaries started to break. Now, we don't think of eating lifeless, poison type food with this. But he said it was the first thing, and I truly believe that. He looked upon scurvy as being aggravated and even caused by this adrenal weakness. Now, if you want to learn more about what he did, you can look this up on page 97 in the Celine Conversations in Nutrition. So, yes, he was knighted in 1933 for his work. Now, Drenamine is my most favorite product because for the adrenals, for this type of adrenal headache. And believe me, I also take Drenamine every day. But if I get a headache, any headache, I hit the Drenamine. I'll take 6 at a time. And you can feel it begin to work immediately. So you have the vasodilating effect in Drenamine of the cataplex G. You have the collagen repair and anti-inflammatory factors of the C, and you have the drenatrophin itself. At what point, people with chronic headaches, at what point does the immune system or anybody with chronic fatigue, stress, that just they don't cope well at all, or they just have no reserve, they have no energy, they are exhausted in the afternoon. At what point is it an autoimmune condition beginning to develop? It's hard to say, isn't it? But know that this particular formulation is really the one that I use the most. And of course, you could take straight drenatrophin as well, but I like the addition of the C and the G. And so again, you can go through this and see the various ways Dr. Lee was applying this particular product in this, and some of the additional information I have put in there as well with the C and the G. Now, from my book, if you wanted to use an herbal approach, you could use my adrenal blend, which is made up of ashwagandha. Now, there's an ashwagandha tablet complex now that my children swear by for energy. Korean ginseng, even though it's expensive, or you could use eleuthero, a lot less, and Rehmannia that helps support the kidneys, the adrenals through kidney function, through increasing, validating, and energizing the kidney qi, and that's Rehmannia itself. The last area we want to look at is your hypo or hyperglycemia and type headache. People that get headaches, you may be one of them. It's very common that people get headaches if they don't eat. And now the regulation of glucose is whether it's not enough or it's too much is highly significant in all of our lives. Now, individuals that do start with intermittent fasting, one of the main things that they say is that, oh yeah, the first few days I was getting headaches because I didn't eat breakfast, or I didn't eat till, lunchtime or a little later, because with intermittent fasting, you have to go 17 hours. So the glycemic index has to re-regulate itself. You have to stress it enough so not too much. And a headache is the way that you know that you're overdoing it. And so the products for that are Cataplex GTF that are in my protocol and Gymnema. So these are the two, the herb and the product that help regulate that blood sugar. And because I'm running out of time, I'm not going to go into detail in here. But I also added in something that Mark Anderson taught yesterday that I thought was so excellent. You can read through this about the too much sugar related to cancer. And I put this in today because I really don't have it in my cancer lecture on my journey through cancer, but I wanted to get this in here for you so you can read through that. But remember the glucose tolerance factor, the chromium, again, what vitamin, what mineral, what like protein is going to regulate? Glucose is the biologically active form of chromium. It is essential dietary agent that potentiates the action of insulin and therefore functioning in regulating carbohydrate metabolism. So this is the product. The Cataplex GTF is the product that you want for these people that have started to intermittent fast or do cleansing programs that get headaches if they don't eat. Very simple. Gymnema is an herb, it's at least 3,000-year-old herb that helps with hyperglycemia. That's what you all know this for. But it's also for hypoglycemia. It's for helping to regulate the glucose levels and manage them in the blood. And finally, the last area. Now, this was, by the way, to keep with my endocrine. This was all tied in with pancreas function, by the way. So as I go through the 7 areas of headaches related to the endocrine system. And of course, the last is the gonads or ovarian type headache. And again, I picked 2. I've already reviewed Chase Tree with you. And but the product I use for most females throughout their life, whether they're young or old, is Simplex F, because it does have the self-regulation of using the protomorphogens, pituitary, thyroid, adrenal, and ovarian. This particular product is a global endocrine product that for any type of headaches during ovulation, menstruation, any headaches that accompany women in their cycles, whether it's emotional upset, mental upset, or physical upset, really is the key product for this. So, and the dosage I like to use is either 3 twice a day or 4 twice a day. So that's why I put in here 9 a day. But so this product you will use for many things, and there's a complementary Simplex M for males as well. But for the overall communication related to hormone balance in women, Simplex F is your go-to product. Again, start this gradually. You know, take 2 twice a day, 1 twice a day for a few days, then 2 twice a day, and work up to 3 twice a day. And you can go up to 4 twice a day. So, but PMS If you have women, especially that have PMS accompanied with a headache, that is an ovarian headache. So this is the product I use. And again, I reviewed Chase Tree because women that get ovarian headaches, they have too much estrogen and not enough balancing progesterone with that. And so, which I've already reviewed with you, and then you can look at what Harrower said about ovarian headaches. So along with that, of course, women at the end of the last 30 years of their life that have menopausal headaches. And again, you can really read the two products I picked out to discuss today are iodine, and I put in a great article for you related to iodine and menopause. This is a key product for hot flashes as one example. So prolamine iodine, you only need to take 1 or 2 a day. But the other significant product in the herbal line is wild yam complex, because wild yam in particular, now this is again is a formula. I won't have time to get through all of these today, but this is a formulation, especially wild yam, for women that their estrogen is dropping off. They have a lot of signs and symptoms of estrogen loss, the hormone of beauty. And wild yam complex is a great balancer of that from the standpoint of several herbs. And I would say that the main book that you should buy, and I keep it beside me all the time, is you can get it through MediHerb or Standard Process. I don't think Saline River Press sells this. It's called the Herbal Compendium, so that you can look quickly what these different herbs do, as I did earlier in my talk today, and how they relate to this formulation related to menopause, menopausal headaches especially. And usually menopausal headaches tie in with hot flashes, or just when the exhaustion phase of a woman during the day, they will end up at the end of the day with a headache. The end of the day, they say, oh, I got a headache, I got to lay down. Though that is the typical menopausal headache. And so, well, I made it through in an hour and a half, all 7 of these areas. And of course, it's been my great pleasure to bring you in two different lectures, my overviewing most of the headaches in my book, Adjuvant Protocols for Healing. So because we're an hour and a half in, I don't think I will take any questions today. You can always write me your questions, or a time when I save your questions for a time when I have a session just devoted to questions. And of course, you can check with your local Standard Process rep as well with any questions on products from Standard Process and MediHerb. So thank you all for being on today. Blessings to you all. And I look forward to talking with you again on July the 1st. I haven't decided on my topic yet. And if you want to re-listen to this, of course, this will be on my YouTube channel within the next week. So blessings to you all. And I will talk to you from on the road.
Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome.